Well, thank you guys so much for being here. Like she said, my name is Ben. I'm the president of Ascent Digital. Just a real quick background. We're a full-service digital marketing agency. So we do everything from targeted advertising to website development, video production, you name it. We kind of specialize in really highly targeted online marketing and advertising. But we have a philosophy at the office, which is the idea that givers gain. And so we operate our business under the assumption that if we can help other businesses grow, in turn, our business will grow. So today what we want to talk about is content marketing, which is something that we do, but it's also something that I think you guys can do, whether you're working within a business or a business owner or whatever it might be. So I'm hopeful that today we can add some value and you can go, back to your businesses and apply some of the stuff that we talked about today to your, everyday marketing when it comes to the content marketing side of things. So the topic of conversation today is how to use digital marketing to build more than a brand, how to create community. First thing is just a couple of baseline understandings that we need to all be on the same page about. The first is that you need to recognize as a brand or a business that you actually have two audiences. The first one is by far the most important, and that is our internal audience. So those are going to be your employees, your partners, your vendors, things like that. Your second audience is the second most important, and those are going to be your customers, your clients, potential customers, things like that. So, and I dive into that here in a few slides, but just want us to kind of know that we've got to talk to the different audiences in different ways. But the other thing is that we all need to understand that consumer behavior has evolved significantly. It is expedited in its evolution, especially since the pandemic. We're living in a world now where there is infinite information and customers are doing their shopping long before the purchase is actually made. And so we need to recognize that. We need to realize that the consumer behavior now, they expect information to be handy. They expect it to be reliable. And if they can't find the information from you, they're going to find it from a competitor or from a different resource. And then we also know, while consumer behavior has evolved quite a bit, so has the landscape of online marketing. We all have to recognize that we live in a world now with a ton of noise. And so consumers now are constantly bombarded with messaging and ads, and you see the rapid fire scrolling now with reels and video format content marketing and stuff like that. And because of that, because of the noisiness of the online landscape now, it's even more difficult for brands to stand out. And one of the recurring themes that we'll talk about throughout this presentation is authenticity and vulnerability. And as brands, for us to stand out, we have to be authentic, we have to have meaningful content, and we have to talk to our consumers as if they were real people. And then the other thing is, and something that I'm hoping you guys can take away today, is how can you humanize your brand? People don't buy from brands anymore. By show of hands, did anybody wake up today excited to check social media to see what your favorite brand posted? Anybody? But did you maybe check social media to see what your family members had posted? Or your friends, your colleagues, your coworkers, things like that? And that's this idea that, as things have become more saturated, we're looking for meaningful connections. And so, as a brand, what we need to do is we need to humanize our brands so that people can relate with you, on a human level. And we'll dive into that. That's why I talk about creating community as opposed to just building a brand. We already did this. My name's Ben. I'm the founder and president of Ascent Digital. Quick background: I've been helping small businesses market for over a decade. I've got a degree in marketing and love it. My passion is helping businesses grow. So just real quick, so that we're on the same page with definitions. And I don't know, you'll let me know when I have 10 minutes, right?
Yes.
Cool. And then also before I dive in, I would love participation. So if we start going and a question pops up, I'd love if you guys raise your hand, especially because we have a small group today. Help me stay on track and hopefully add value. But just so that we're on the same page, the definition of a brand is the sum total of all visual and non-visual, verbal and non-verbal, tangible and non-tangible elements that help people identify with your business. So that's everything from the way your storefront looks, the way it smells, the way your website feels, how are your business cards, merchandise, all of that stuff comes into play when it comes to creating a brand, which is very important. So I don't want to diminish the importance of brands, but a community is a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. There's a belief in marketing that's this idea that people like us do things like that, right? So we're going to look to what our peers are doing, and that's going to influence our buying decisions. And we can actually use digital marketing in a really powerful way to create a community so that people see some influence and we kind of have the real world idea. And then another thing, I'll dive into it here in a little bit, but another critical component to what makes a community in my mind is participation, is give and take. Communities aren't communities if everybody's just selfish, if everybody's worrying about themselves. You end up with a bunch of silos. And our goal as brands is to create communities with our online audiences. Here's the other one. So 2 communities. I skipped ahead a little bit, but just to reiterate, our internal audience is our first and most important: employees, partners, vendors, things like that. An important thing to remember is that people want to be a part of something, and we need to give them an opportunity to participate. And I think if and I don't know everybody's roles with your businesses, but if you're like most of the businesses we work with, they're having a very difficult time hiring and retaining quality employees. And we have opportunities because of that to create powerful, unique places for people to work. And one of the biggest ways is to give folks an opportunity to participate. I'm going to see if this link works or not, just to show you an example of what we've done at Ascend. It's not going to work, so I'm just going to talk through it. We have swag, and we have a partner who's actually in town right now. He lives in Denver, and we mailed him, a hat and a shirt and some stuff like that. And he sent us back a selfie. And coincidentally, I was wearing the exact same shirt and hat at work that day. So I sent him back a selfie, and then we had another new employee starting the same day wearing a branded shirt. And we started doing this hashtag Ascend selfies. And what I would do is post them to our Instagram story, and I would tag the person that sent them, but then I would do another screen and tag another employee and say, "You're next." And it turned into this really powerful reel of our employees participating, sending selfies, tagging Ascend selfies, and it was only internal for us. We weren't trying to sell anyone anything. We weren't trying to do anything other than make sure that our team felt included and participated in it. And one of the things that we'll find when we talk through this, that's one of the most powerful external marketing tools you can build, because people start to see that we're building something special. We're having fun at work, we're enjoying what we're doing, and that translated in a way more powerful way, to our potential clients or current clients than an ad or a, come buy from us type stuff. Second one, like we talked about, is the second community is our external audience. Think customers, clients, potential customers, referral partners. I think we're going to be a huge one for your external audience. And one thing I want everyone to recognize or write down: stop trying to go viral. We talk with business owners all the time that are chasing the next trend, chasing the hashtag strategy, jumping on things, and there's a lot of times where that's very relevant, and if it's on brand, definitely do it. But we have great opportunities for these micro influence. We've got our target audience, we've got the people that are engaging with your brand, we've got your fans, and I think that if you focus on adding value rather than trying to go viral, your content marketing is going to be way more effective for your business. Aim small, miss small. Try to think who would make a valuable addition to your community. And then, like we talked about with the definition of community, of engagement and participation, don't be afraid to tag people, share their posts, comment on their posts, things like that. And when I mention kind of quality over quantity, I want everyone to think for a minute about what your organization would look like if you had 30 real loyal followers. People that share your content, people that engage, and things like that, as opposed to one post that went viral, and at the end of the day, it didn't really affect the bottom line. The other thing a kind of recurring theme for today's conversation, especially when it relates to content marketing, is to stop selling and to start storytelling. Consider your own online behavior, right? Why do we go online? Why do we participate in social media? It's usually for entertainment. Sometimes it's to be educated. Sometimes it's to be inspired or motivated. I follow a whole lot of motivational content, and stuff that gets me out of bed and makes me go on my runs when I don't feel like it. But you're not uncommon. Everybody shares your same online behaviors. They're online for the same reasons. And as brands, we need to recognize that. And the easiest way for us to get ignored is to always be posting sales-related stuff. I would say keep your sales-related content for when it really is important. And if you've done a good job of some of the topics we'll talk about today on creating a community, when it is time for that sale, it'll be received properly. People will digest it, and you'll have a much bigger reach than if you're always just trying to sell.
So, Brad, I think what I'm hearing you say is we should just post cat videos every day. Is that what we should just?
If it's on brand, yes. Depends on the goal. If we want to get a whole lot of engagement, yes. But
selfie with your hand.
yeah. But very sincerely, so I was at a conference in Orlando just recently, and we were at a user group for a technology software that we use. And they were kind of talking about what they're doing, and I was like, believe it or not, guys, we're growing a lot because we're doing digital marketing. And anyways, this whole thing, but they looked at our social media, and a while back we posted a reel, and the caption was, "Tell us that you're a family-owned business without telling us that you're a family-owned business." And there was some strategy behind that, right? So our audience, or my ideal audience, coming back to that first slide, is other small and medium businesses, so likely family-owned. So I knew, okay, here's an opportunity for me to be vulnerable, show people that I'm a small family-owned business, and it was a bunch of content of our kids in the office playing, because sometimes that's the real world. The kids are in the office, they're getting ice cream sandwiches from the freezer, they're making a mess, and the lady that saw it was shocked that we would post that to our business page, and then we looked at the engagement, and it was through the roof. And that's that type of thing of cats or your kids playing or whatever it is, but it's that authentic day of be a little vulnerable, and people appreciate that, people resonate with it. But the other thing is to add value. So we talked about these ideas of how to educate, inspire, or entertain. My guess would be in your organizations, you get one of probably 10 questions every time the phone rings, right? Somebody has the same kind of, the questions that you get answered often. Start maybe thinking about how to add value and how to proactively answer those questions. And you can take it beyond social media. Odds are if they're calling your organization and asking you those questions, they're probably going to Google to look for the answer as well. So it'd be a really good idea to write answers to those questions in the form of a blog. You could also answer those questions in the form of longer form video content published on YouTube, or social media posts, infographics, things like that. Anything that you can do that is going to add value. And like I talked about, sort of this power of micro-influence, but this idea that people like us do things like this. In my world, it's been pretty unique because I'm growing a business while trying to help other people grow their businesses. And so I've also gotten to have some opportunities with content marketing about the realities of how hard it is to be a business owner, and how growing the business and celebrating and things like that. We hit a pretty big milestone at the office yesterday, and we videoed us popping confetti and everybody cheering and stuff, because I want people to have insight that we celebrate our wins too. We're not the just always robots kind of going through and doing our job. And then the other thing is, don't be afraid to get really excited and lean in to the things that fulfill you in your organization. My guess would be if you're here right now, you probably have some role in your organization that you're passionate about, something that's your why, and lean into that, because people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. They buy the way that it makes you feel. They buy the passion, behind the product or the service. Another one, I write this down because this is kind of it's counterintuitive on the surface. So try to, look at it a little bit of a layer deeper. We talked about earlier on how saturated the online marketplace is, how noisy the internet can be. And it's changed now to the point where authenticity is disruptive. Everybody's trying to be polished. Everybody's trying to jump on the trend. Everybody's checking their lighting. Everybody's editing out their typos. They're putting on the filter, so that we look good. If we stumble across our words, we're cutting it and we're not posting it. Stop. Just publish it. Authenticity is disruptive. Because storytelling only works if it's authentic. I'm going to talk about this, but consumers are savvy and they feel that. And I've got some examples that we may or may not show depending on if the links work, but I'm sure you guys are familiar with like big corporate brands trying to jump on like the next, I'll use the term woke, and I don't mean to be political, but kind of like social trends and brands trying to make sure that like we're staying on top of it. But so many times they do it and they fail because it's not authentic. We can't just change our filter to a gay pride flag or whatever it is and have people feel that. If it's something that we're passionate about, something that we care about, show people that. Don't just do the the filtered version of trying to connect because people feel that it's not an authentic connection, and you'll end up with no connections at all. So the other thing too is a lot of, when it comes to content marketing, there's a lot of ways to sort of measure what's working and what's not. I know that we live in the real world, and at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is sales. Is our business growing? Is it surviving? Is it thriving? But I would say that if you're getting engagement with your social media content, that would be how you know it's being successful. Is someone willing to be a little vulnerable? Somebody who runs a business, I want to see what the engagement was on it.
Super incredible, to be honest.
Let's be vulnerable. How many likes did they get?
30.
Hey, that's actually, you probably have pretty good engagement then. I'd be pumped with 30 likes on it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What was the post about?
Kind of running a thing like basically like it says on the second day of Christmas, Four Corners brings you warm fleece sweaters.
Cool.
It's super simple. They're trying to bring people into the store during the holidays.
How many followers does that page have?
About 2,000.
So there's a little more, 2,000 followers, 30 people engaged with it. And I'm sure you're doing an incredible job, so thanks for, letting me. I'll pick on myself for a minute. So if you look at our content, and I try really hard to practice what we preach, believe it or not, we sit up here and present about this stuff, we try to actually do it also. But you're pretty much guaranteed if you look at our social media posts. My mom likes everyone, I like everyone, Peyton likes most of them, and we kind of have like 4 or 5. But what I'm wanting to get at is that this idea of community and participation, start listening to what your audience is telling you. And recognize that we're living in a world now where they're not going to write you a review if they're, halfway satisfied. They're not going to call you and say, I really love that post that you did. So you have to look for these other indicators of success. And how are people communicating with you? Go ahead.
I will say like videos with reels.
Yes.
Do a lot better. So like the last reel that we had, or that I posted, was 260.
Yeah. What was that about? What was the content of the reel?
Just someone buying me back.
Just kind of showing in behind the scenes, day-to-day business operations stuff? Yeah. And we'll talk about, in fact, thank you for that, because we'll talk about video content here in a second too. But for our world, I found that when we were doing employee highlight posts, where we take their headshot, did a little bit of a bio about the employee, what they like to do outside of work, what do they do for fun, stuff like that. Engagement went through the roof. We would share that to our Instagram story, we would tag that employee. It also sort of started to extend our sphere of influence because they were excited about it, so they would share the posts and things like that. But what I want you guys to do is go through your content, and not necessarily just social media, but look at your YouTube views, look at, if you have analytics, look at written content on your website and traffic to the site, and how many times blogs are getting read and things like that. And use those as indicators of what's actually adding value, what's resonating with people, and then do more of it. And one of the things that you'll start to see a huge trend in is vertical format video, like he had mentioned. And so one of the things too would be that you don't have to always be reinventing the wheel. Let's say, for example, you go back through your content and you find certain types of posts that performed really, really well. Repurpose that content. You don't have to always be coming up with new stuff. So now you can turn it into a video or an infographic or maybe a blog post or whatever it might be. But if you find topics that are resonating or people engaging with, do more of that and give it legs. For example, we write blogs every week, and then I make a vlog about the topic of the blog. We publish that to our YouTube channel, and then in the description of our YouTube video, we say, for more information, check out this, which is then a link to the blog about the same topic. And then we embed the YouTube video to the blog post. So we've got a ton of SEO boost. We're also getting people on different platforms. So we're building backlinks, pointing back to our website. We're connecting our platforms, but we're also giving people the opportunity to interact with the content in the medium that they're comfortable with. Another just tip for you guys to be aware of is to recognize how consumer behavior is engaging in consuming the content that we're putting out. For example, if you're utilizing video on social platforms, you need to be aware that most of the time it's going to be muted. So if you're going to be doing video content, I would encourage you to have captions or text overlay or something like that, so that people can still receive your message, even if the volume is off. YouTube, on the other hand, you have way more of a captive audience. Likelihood is that volume is going to be on. It's going to be usually a bigger screen, horizontal as opposed to vertical. But just be kind of thinking about that stuff of what platform are we publishing this to, and how are people going to be consuming it. Consistent engagement means that a community is created, and we love that. The other thing that I'm going to tell you guys is community isn't going to happen without your participation. So if somebody's commenting on your posts, you better be commenting back, even if it's replying and telling them thank you so much for the comment. If people are writing you reviews on your Google Business profile or Yelp or wherever it is, respond to those reviews, whether they're positive or negative. Always be participating. If you live in a business where you're interacting with other brands, I'm going to encourage you to tag those brands in your content marketing. Studs Lumber, I know, works with all sorts of general contractors and things like that. Great opportunity to tag them. So excited to be dropping off this load at such and such a build site. Get their engagement, get their participation in your content. It's also going to extend your reach, and you'll get in front of their audience as well. The reality, though, is that social media has turned from some guys in their basement developing really cool websites to giant public corporations that are for-profit and things like that. And so you're only going to get so far using organic content marketing. So you probably need to pay to play. What I'm going to encourage you to think about is to think about your targeted or your paid efforts in 3 different pillars. Who are you talking to? Where are you talking to them? And what are you telling them? A quick tip that I probably shouldn't share, because we've kind of found a secret sauce, secret recipe at the Ascent office, but we talked a little bit about how engagement with vertical video has gone through the roof, and the change in emphasis on reels and things like that. We're now starting to use vertical video as our ad copy. So think outside the box on what are we promoting, what are we putting our money behind, and how people can interact with it in a way that feels less disruptive. So we've gone in, instead of having normal commercials that are horizontal in 30 seconds, we'll flip that, we'll make them vertical, and we'll put money behind them on the social platforms, and then we'll use horizontal video on other platforms. But let's see. Oh, okay, cool. So speaking of advertising, the other thing that I want everyone to do is, when you're thinking about your organic content marketing, start to pay attention to who your audience actually is. There's some cool tools, and we'd be happy to help with some of this stuff. But get some insight through the platforms on demographics, household income, gender breakdowns, things like that, home zip codes. There's also going to be a shift now in an emphasis on first-party data. So if you're not doing stuff in your business to collect some level of data, at least a CRM with names, addresses, and phone numbers, you need to be, because privacy is becoming a bigger priority as consumer behavior evolves. But the idea is that you successfully create a community through your organic content marketing, and you learn who that community is, and now you extend your community through targeted advertising, but it's educated because we already know who's interacting with our brand from an organic standpoint. So you're kind of taking the guesswork out of your targeting. Continue to advertise with consistent messaging, imagery, things like that, and also make sure that you have cohesiveness. So one of the things that we talked about just recently is this idea of using vertical video for our paid efforts. We know that performs well because it feels cohesive for our paid audience. They're used to seeing vertical videos when they're scrolling. And so, find ways to have your ads have the same concepts we've applied to our content marketing: authenticity, vulnerability, adding value, telling stories, things like that, and then just apply that to your paid efforts. The other thing is to meet your customers where they are. What stage of the buying cycle are they in, and how does this affect our messaging? So, are we retargeting somebody after a transaction? Probably going to have a different message than somebody who are trying to, have their initial interaction with our brand. But same general rules apply that we talked about of, adding value and storytelling and things like that. And then speaking in the lines of, kind of cohesiveness, but also be aware of destinations. Where are we sending people from our paid efforts? How are we getting people to our website? What's the goal? Are we trying to get people to engage? Are we trying to get people to convert, fill out a lead form, whatever it might be? But make sure that you don't disrupt that process. You've worked really hard through your content marketing to create this brand that they trust and this community that has participation. And now you don't want to also do a bait and switch and be salesy or have it feel disruptive once they actually get to your website or wherever you need them to be. Go ahead.
Yeah, can I add to that, or it's just like if you've made it hard for them to call you, like instead of one button for them to push, it's two, or if they want to check out, you're asking for more information. They did a study recently that said when you're collecting information, for instance, on the checkout, that it actually is a huge, and you've probably all done this, and then you're like, fill it out, and there's more, but you do it instead of seeing it all and just clicking away. So I think he's kind of just touching on making it easy for your customer to continue that journey so that they can even go to brick and mortar too, which is super important, which would be click on the Google Map, pops up, get there easy, there's no problems with your Google Map listing and all that easy stuff.
And then speaking of kind of defining our communities or nailing down who our audience is, we have some capabilities. We want to offer it to anybody that's here because you're here listening to us. But one of the things that we do a lot is location-based targeted advertising. And what we have some capabilities to do is geofence specific physical locations and then get device ID data. And what it does, it actually ends up generating what's called an audience insight report. And they're fantastic. It gives you all sorts of valuable insights into who actually visits your organization, who visits your store, who was there. We have a client that's over on the East Coast, and they're a minor league hockey team. And I was thinking that I kind of know everything about marketing, and I thought I was going to nail it. And so I'm thinking, you know, our target audience for a minor league hockey team is probably middle-aged white males with discretionary income, because I think that I know it all. But just to be sure, we did an audience insight report and we geo-fenced their last 3 playoff games the season prior. And it was fascinating because the data came back and it totally changed our approach to marketing because we learned who their community was. And I'll just share it for example because I think we're doing fine on time, but a few interesting takeaways from it. One is we found that people only visited once of 3 playoff games, which tells you right away not a real loyal fan base, and I would have expected that they were there for all 3 games. Mostly women with children and low income. So totally changed our approach. And now we learn in a very real way who our audience is, who our community is. The people going to this minor league hockey games were low-income moms who needed something to do with their kids and were excited to have it. So now we're like, okay, great, let's communicate with that community in an authentic way. And we changed our messaging. We started talking about how, you know, you get free hot dogs with kids tickets, or, you know, free t-shirts or event nights or things like that that made it such a more real and powerful connection with the organization for the people that were actually there. And that's what I'm trying to get at with some of this pay-to-play stuff, is that do what you can to take the guesswork out of it and know who you're talking to so that you can talk to them in a meaningful way. Exact same way as you would with your content marketing, apply it to your paid strategy. Does anyone have questions? Because we went pretty quick actually, and we have extra time. I'd love to answer questions if there's any specifics.
Can I just throw some stuff in on the vertical videos?
Yeah.
So just to add a vertical video, some things, tips to make it super simple for everybody. Just, for instance, I'm going to use, you guys can see I do really cool stuff, but you know, somebody in your store or at your business, they're doing what they do. People eat that up. They love to watch videos of things being constructed or being put on the shelves or being created, whatever that is. Real simple way to do that is just do a vertical video of what everybody's doing and then finish it off on the top of your hat or your logo. And that real simply, you just got a video of your stuff, of your company, and you finish it with your brand. And everybody's gonna love that. It's gonna be super simple. It's gonna not be like really hard on their brain about like selling something or, you know, there's no text. Kind of like, here we are, that's what we do, and there's your brand. And that is one way to just kind of kick off and get started in that area of vertical video. Another one that is really important is to, and you may not know what I'm talking about, but do some research, figure out how to use trending audio. So that will gather in everybody outside of your current follower audience. So just literally, if you did that video, just grab whatever trending audio you can find, throw it on there, and then people who are not following you or part of your community will see that under the trending audio, and then you might get some people that actually want to like it. So just some extra little tips.
Yeah, and you reminded me too, hopefully to kind of take the pressure off of everybody, because I know that this can feel daunting. Remember how we talked about how saturated the world is, how noisy it is? Worst case scenario, you're just part of the noise. No one's going to pay attention to the bad stuff. The worst it can go is that it doesn't get traction, and people scroll right past it. So don't psych yourself out over the type of content you're like putting it out. If it doesn't work, it just doesn't work, and it's no big deal. There's no value lost. And I have this adage: when in doubt, put it out. Now there's a disclaimer in fine print that says as long as it's authentic. So no cat videos for us, but think of the stuff that, if you're thinking that this might add value, if you're thinking that, I'd like to hear something like that, or I wonder if people would be interested in seeing this aspect of my organization, or, whatever it is, try it. It might work, and if it doesn't, nobody's going to remember it. So it's gone forever if it doesn't work. Go ahead.
So what do you mean by vertical video?
So,
portrait versus landscape?
correct, yep. Yeah,
And that's just the sizing format. That's all it is. It's just how it comes out on social media.
the social platforms have changed their algorithm lately to give much more emphasis to vertical video because they're finding that's what people are engaging with.
Because they're watching it on their phones
Yeah.
as opposed to going home and watching it on their laptop.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's really good advice though, because I've been doing social media marketing for a long time and I'm still still intimidated by Reels.
Yeah.
I just haven't, maybe I'm just old fashioned or been doing it too long that I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I can figure this whole music thing out, and timing thing out, and I just like,
I found the videos that I think are the shittiest, everyone likes.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I'll sit there like, you know, and I'll like make my wife film something, you know, so it works well, and it doesn't work. But like, I just go like set my phone on the ground and then go do whatever, and it's like a crappy video from the ground, and people like it. It's, and for me, that's, so that's kind of what I was gonna ask is like, ADHD makes me overthink everything in my life. So, you know, sometimes, more often than not, I don't post things because I've overthought. Is there any downfall? So obviously you're saying when in doubt, just put it out. Obviously, if it doesn't get good reaction, you know, whatever. If you put something out and it actually starts to kind of have a negative turn to it, is it bad to delete that?
So
You're talking about being authentic, and like I feel like that's like the most authentic moment, but that's also like the most vulnerable moment too.
No
so it's
doubt.
like, how? Yeah.
So, you
What's the
know,
line?
we need more context to
Right.
fully dive in, but, you know, generally speaking, obviously, you know, stay on brand. You know, so definitely, we don't need to be talking about politics or, you know, negative things or, you know, sharing our personal opinions on our brand page.
Well, so like that's one for me, like going through the last couple of years with lumber prices being so freaking high. It's like every once in a while I'd put a post out there and I'd take some random Joe from the right-hand corner of the world who's like, and you're just like, and you like, I don't know how to handle it without kind of getting upset or just being like, shut up. And so, yeah, it's like,
participate, right? So communities are going to have conflict. Like communities are going to have issues that they need to resolve. Use that as an opportunity because the fact that they're taking the time to engage with your brand, whether positive or negative, is a good sign.
yeah.
Try to add value, you know, validate their feelings, you know, it's just normal communication. You know, I hear you, I'm sorry that you feel that. You know, the same stuff we were doing in real person interaction, obviously with caveats. You know, if it's something's really devolving and you know, we're at risk of some negative exposure or, you know, some stuff like that, then there's no risk, there's no harm in deleting a post. You know, it can go away. But the other thing too, just on that note, is stick with consistency. So we do these like Tip Tuesday posts in our business, and a lot of it is repurposing this content. And we post them every Tuesday. They usually get a few hundred views. We posted one a while back that got 17,000 views. And I'm a professional owner marketing agency. I have no idea why it got more views. But I do know that it wouldn't have had we not kept the consistency and, you know, continued to post. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. That, you know, and I'd be, sometimes those opportunities are like for example, Studs Lumber does so much participation with the community. You guys give back so much. So maybe there's these times where, yeah, lumber prices are high, which you have nothing to do with it.
Right.
Lumber prices are what they are. But, you know, I'm sure there's times when, you know, that's done, your business has done way more good for the community through donations and sponsorships and participations and things like that to way outweigh inflated lumber prices.
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably some ways to message that too. You know, of like, yeah, we know. We wish they were.
We just donated this amount of lumber to these guys, and it would hurt.
Right.
Okay.
It's like I saw a post a while back.
I guess, like, you know, I mean, you bring up like replying to Google reviews.
And I'm really glad you brought that up because, you know, kind of the underlying theme of this whole thing is to try to act like we do as humans on, you know, the digital platforms. Because sometimes those issues are the best opportunities. We've seen many times with ourselves and with clients that, you know, somebody's upset or there's a bad review or we have a customer service issue or whatever. We handle it the right way, it turn into our biggest fan, turn into our best client, you know, stuff like that. And I think that's kind of long and short of it. Like I said, obviously with, you know, fine print disclaimers for the real egregious stuff, you know, can't put that. I feel like the community, somebody's causing problems, they're not part of the community.
speak to, you mentioned, I guess this idea of quality and quantity. So literally 2 weeks ago, I pushed a button on an LLC, so I'm literally just building, starting.
Congrats.
Thank you. And I'll be honest, I'm not going to TikTok. I'm not going to Instagram. Like right now, my focus has been LinkedIn. And can you speak to though, like, is there value in leveraging one site and just becoming so proficient at it, as opposed to like, it follow me everywhere? Because that's just, to me, that just seems overwhelming.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's a B2B business.
I'm doing college consulting.
Okay, so there's merit for sure to specializing in specific platforms, but our audience is using all of the different platforms, and you never know when the right set of eyes or ears are on those other ones. So what I would advise is stick with your strategy, your content strategy on LinkedIn. Repurpose that content though, and push it to the other platforms, even if it's not your priority or your perfection. Even if it's not perfect, maybe it's a horizontal video because it's made for LinkedIn. Share it to the other platforms anyway, because being there, even if it's imperfect, is going to be way more valuable than not being there at all. And it's going to help with the brand credibility, the approachableness of your business, and your audience is also wide range. College consulting with like
admissions, first year college success,
Yeah.
planning for college.
You gotta get on TikTok.
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess I'm gonna fail.
Yes. Because you're on LinkedIn.
Failing will be the best thing for you.
Yes.
Like, that's what I'm telling you. TikTok's full of horrible.
Does anyone follow
Yes.
Happy Pizza?
No.
Yeah. Great case study of just crushing it with authentic content marketing. I'm on the YPod board, the Yoga Professionals of Rio, and one of our other board members dressed up as him as Halloween, and he is who he is. He's excited. He supports the demons. He's all pumped up. They're not a client of mine, so I'm not like biased at all. Crushing it because he's also realizing he doesn't have to be, the TikTok dance trend thing. Just gonna put it out there, wear it on my sleeve, and I think especially with first year college and high school seniors and stuff, they're going to spend all their time on the other platforms. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
I just wanted to add for Mark too that he has to think about his different customer segments because he has the students, he has the parents, he has the college counselors.
Right.
Those are all potential customer streams for him. So each of those is probably going to be a different media outlet.
Yep.
And his messaging should be associated on those different platforms with who he's trying to target.
100%.
Right? So like TikTok's going to be where the kids are, LinkedIn might be where the college counselors are, but you're probably going to find some of the moms who might be ultimately the decision makers on Facebook.
What would be great content ideas, speaking to that, is co-producing content, thank you, with college admissions, like actual college admissions decision makers. Talk to them about what do you look for on, and things like that then your audience combines with theirs, and then you can repurpose that same, like I don't know if you noticed or not, but we're filming this and I'm mic'd up, so we can repurpose the content. And you write a blog now. My conversation with college admissions, I don't know the title, but here's my takeaways on what they look for when applicants are coming in. Now you publish that to your website, publish the long form video to YouTube, the vertical format videos on the other platforms, and then LinkedIn is where they kind of all combine. Because LinkedIn that audience is definitely more desktop based. They're sitting in an office or wherever it is. And you probably share that post, the blog post to LinkedIn and the long form video, and then break out the bits for the others.
And one of our team members brought this to me that it might have been you, but they did research number one person on TikTok, not necessarily posting, but on TikTok, middle-aged moms. I was like, what?
My wife.
Middle-aged moms.
We're all going to figure out. Did you have a question?
You're
Sure. I thought you raised your hand.
I asked my question.
Okay, go.
I thought vertical video was a jargon of some sort.
Oh,
It's simpler than it sounds.
Yeah. Just flip it on its side. Thanks for the participation. Does anyone have other questions? Awesome. Go make some content. Go add value.
Yeah, thank you.